Whoa! We're getting close to 2000. Hello everyone, I'm Father Aaron,
The Dungeon Minister!
Whoa! We're closing in on 2,000 subscribers, which is stunning. I mean, when I began this channel, I thought there might be a dozen or so people, maybe 100, who wanted to watch a priest recap the Dungeons and Dragons game he's playing with his kids. But here we are. As of the time of editing, we have this many. I could tell you how many we have at time of recording, but by the time I get to edit this, it will be more, and by the time it goes live, it'll be more still. So that's where we are when I edit, right? Okay. It's getting there, though. We're getting close. And I thought, well, you have to do something. I think maybe we could do another giveaway. I did a Dice Tower giveaway, but maybe something else. Maybe some other celebratory thing that we could do. And then I had it. This is an idea that I have been thinking about for a while now, something I've wanted to do, but it's a pretty big project, and I wanted some good excuse to do it. Something, that I could do it for, some rationale behind it, because it's going to be not only a lot of work, it's just going to be physically big. The project is this. This is the castle, the keep on the Northern Sea. You may remember it as the location of the party's second adventure and the place where they first met Touchberry. Right, Touchberry was a prisoner in that keep. The funny thing is, he wasn't in the adventure as I wrote it. There was no prisoner. There was nothing about a halfling. But then as we played it, I decided that the gnolls and the kobolds had taken a prisoner and that he was tied up in the same room with the carrion crawler. And the carrion crawler could reach its tentacles through the bars of his cage and sting him and put him to sleep, but it couldn't get in there. Could put him to sleep, paralyze him, but it couldn't get in to eat him, right? So it was just this constant torture, which might explain why Touchberry is so angry all the time. He was thrown in as a last-minute idea, and here he is, one of the party now, right? My middle guy was playing a cleric for that game and tossed the cleric away and picked up Touchberry. Anyhow, that's the keep. This keep, which had been built 200 years before the events of our campaign, built after the Goblin Wars, because the Count of Kilmarnock at that time realized that defending Honeywood was impractical at the distance that Kilmarnock was. It was impractical to try to defend this little outpost, but also wanting that buffer, not wanting to just leave Honeywood to itself and then, suddenly have goblin troops right near the capital. So he decided that he would send someone up there, and he made a baron, one of the great fighters of the Goblin Wars, right? Rewarded him with a a title. He gave him a title. And he would give him this keep on the Northern Sea, and that would be the strong point for the county, that there'd be some defense up there. Well, this new baron moved his family up there as the castle was being constructed. It was going to be a keep that was 3 or 4 floors, ground floor plus some above that. But they started, obviously you start at the bottom, you don't start with the top floor. They had begun the keep, and the family moved in to that bottom portion, and they were just going to keep adding onto it. This is why there are no windows on the ground floor. You wouldn't put arrow slits there, because the enemy could just come up to your castle and shoot in at you, right? The door that's in the ground floor was going to be filled in. That was temporary. The entrance was going to be on the second floor, or the first floor if you're British, with a wooden staircase outside that could be thrown away, torn apart, burned down, etc. if the occupants had to hole up in the keep as a last resort, right? So anyway, all of this was going to happen, but it didn't, because after they moved there, the Baron's wife and children became sick, and they died. Was it something in the environment that they weren't used to? Was it something hostile, some creature that poisoned them? Was it murder? We don't know. Lost to time. But the Baron left, a broken man. He left and abandoned the keep. There it sat, falling into ruin over the years. When he had left it, the base level was completed with the outline of the towers that would rise with the keep, and they had actually raised the towers on the four corners. They were going to fill in the rest of the keep, and then towers, and then keep, as they went. They just had those four towers. Those have mostly fallen into ruin over the centuries. Now, there this thing sat. Just maybe, 30 or 40 years before the events of our campaign, a fighter was traveling at the border of the county and saw a carriage being attacked by orcs. Now, the carriage had defenders, they had guards with them, but the guards had been overwhelmed. They had killed some of the orcs, but the rest of the orcs were still very much alive and were about to break into the carriage when this fighter charged them. And because he was fresh and he was strong enough, he was a third level fighter, he dispatched the rest of the orcs, killing them and driving them away. The occupant of the carriage was the mother-in-law of the Count. This would be the current Count's predecessor. It was his mother-in-law. She was so grateful that she told her daughter that her daughter should tell the Count, reward this man. Well, okay, how can I reward him? Can't make him a baron, really. Money, we could give him some money. There's that castle, that keep way north. There's nobody there. We probably should put someone there. I will knight him and I will give him that keep. He can finish the castle, that can be his stronghold, that's his reward. And so this fighter was knighted and sent north. And he was very happy, collected all his possessions into a wagon and horses and went up there, right? And discovered that the keep was in a state of disrepair. I mean, he knew it had been abandoned, but it was a lot worse than he expected. And he realized that he didn't have a lot of money to repair the thing. Now, he did go in and occupy it for a little while. He drove off a couple of creatures which had taken up residence there. But here he is in the woods. He's not a builder. He doesn't have enough money to repair this keep to a workable condition. He makes his way over to Honeywood. He goes and he finds this little village. Now, this village is not fortified at the time. The palisade wall that exists in the time of the characters, that was actually built. It was begun while the characters were going to the keep for their first time. At any rate, it wasn't fortified. So it was just a little village, and he went in there, and exploring the village, he found the Copper Kettle Pub. So in he goes to the pub. And at the Copper Kettle Pub, he discovered Molly. Molly was working at the pub, and she was lovely, charming, and friendly, and he began to spend more and more of his time at the pub, until eventually he and Molly got married, and he decided, all right, the keep, forget about it. I will continue my career as an adventurer out of Honeywood. And so he would patrol the area around the village. But at the time, there wasn't a lot going on, right? This was, again, some 30, 40 years before the events of the campaign. There wasn't a lot going on, right? It was a relatively peaceful time. And so there wasn't much for him to do. So his patrols got smaller and smaller until he was patrolling the village and really just patrolling the pub. He did have some money. I mean, a third-level fighter has got some gold to his name. And he built himself a very fine house there in Honeywood. And there he and Molly settled down. You probably know by now that this knight's name was Sir Trevor. Sir Trevor, who now, because of the various attacks on the village, has actually raised to 4th level. He's a 4th level fighter. Sir Trevor actually owns that castle, that keep. He owns that building. But he doesn't really want anything to do with it, right? He's now in his 60s, and while he's still powerful, he's still a strong individual, he's really done the whole carving out space in the wilderness thing. He's done with that whole world. He's not going to even go there. So there it sits, mostly empty. It has, in the meantime, served as a headquarters for the kobolds and the gnolls. They used it as their strong point, and after the heroes of Honeywood drove the kobolds and gnolls out, they came back briefly to launch the attack on Honeywood, and then the heroes went up to the kobold caves and cleared those out. One gnoll, sort of refugee, we've named him Chumley, with whom the characters actually established a bit of a friendship. He took up residence for a while in the keep. It has been the headquarters of wolves. The characters don't know that. The players don't know that that happened. It was where a garrison of troops from Kilmarnock stayed after they helped after the Battle of Honeywood, the first one. When they drove off the gnolls and the kobolds the first time, a garrison came up and briefly occupied the keep. And most recently, as the party headed north to deal with Morag, they passed the keep, and there was a dirty olive drab flag hanging from the upper story. A group of kobolds had come and occupied it. There is more story to come with the keep. It appears again, and with a new inhabitant. But there it is, and I thought that would be a fun thing to make. Not just for the 2,000 subscribers, but also because Claricon 2024 is coming up. October 25th through the 27th, we're doing it again. We're throwing Claricon, and I thought it would be cool if we could have the castle at Claricon, right? We could have the keep there. Because it's going to be a big piece of terrain. It's going to be about 3 feet square, right? It's going to be big. I thought we need to have that on display, and maybe if people want to play a game using it, they could use it at their table. That'd be fine too. So anyway, I am going to make it with some magnets involved so that the ruined portions can be taken off in case the party decides to take the keep on themselves and properly builds it up. So there'll be magnets involved so that I can add on to it. It's a very ambitious project, so, wish me luck. At any rate, that's the announcement. Wish me luck. When we hit 2,000, I will begin construction and I will begin releasing videos of my progress through the construction. It won't be one video. This is going to take a while. A while. So look forward to that. And if you have friends you think would enjoy listening to a priest talk about the game he plays with his kids and his wife, then tell them and bring them on board. It'd be fabulous. Tell folks who like gaming, who like the old school stuff about the channel, and maybe we'll get to 2,000 a little quicker, and I'll have to get to work. What am I getting myself into?